can sell something, you can write your check to wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do. There's a lot of noise in the market, and it's trying to cut through that. But at the time, because we had a loyal audience, that was an advantage. Where most companies, they see an opportunity and they create something just based on that opportunity, but it's very hard to cut through the noise or get in front of that ideal clients. There's all these other factors around starting a business that they don't realize. And so you kind of have to separate out all those roles. But I think creating that audience, that's the most important part, because just because you hang up a shingle doesn't mean anybody's going to see it.
I started the show and I continue the show to bring valuable conversations to small business owners, entrepreneurs, founders, startups, and the like. Conversations about marketing, about networking, about business development, sales, finance, leadership, and all the things that go with running a business to try and move the needle away from the high failure rate that business owners experience, much higher than it needs to be if you take the time to learn the basics, learn the fundamentals, and learn from the guests that we bring on the show. It's incumbent upon the business owner who wants to be successful to find the information that's out there to learn. So we hope that the guests that you hear and the conversations we have are valuable and help you in your business, and hopefully help us move the needle a little bit. If you have any suggestions, please write the show, introduce us to guests that we'll have on the show. How can you help us, though, continue to help you? First, please subscribe to the channel. The more subscribers we have, the more eyeballs we get, the more things we can bring to the show, the more resources we'll have to bring you quality content. Like us, if you listen to the audio version, leave us a 5-star review wherever you can. If you follow our posts, if you see our posts, please share those posts, share the content, and link back to our law firm website, which helps us to continue our SEO marketing and grow our firm and help small business owners. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for being a listener, and I want to thank you for staying a listener. All right, Seth, so thanks for joining me in an early morning out in Boulder. I would guess the weather's nicer. It's going to rain all weekend out here, so I'm sure Boulder's like nice all the time, right?
You know, it's pretty nice most of the time. It's gorgeous out today. Sun is shining. Yesterday was a little rainy and dreary, though, so it's nice to have the sun back out.
Well, what's temperatures like? 80s?
Yeah. Oh, no. It's probably in the mid-50s today, maybe high 50s.
Oh, all right. So, yeah, it's going to be 70. It's going to be 80 in New Jersey today. It's
Oh,
going to
wow.
rain, but it's going to be warm. Yeah, and it's crazy. Okay, so thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Why don't we first, I know you got a bunch of companies we're going to talk about. Maybe we talk about your background first and, you know, where you grew up, what your training was, maybe schooling, things like that.
Sure.
Thanks. We're going to take a break probably midway through some commercials as well, okay?
Yeah, great. Sounds good.
All right.
Great. Well, I kind of got my start in life. I grew up in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Okay.
Right in the kind of the heart of Kentucky, about an hour north of Nashville. Lower middle class family. Always knew that I wanted to own my own business, but I had no idea what I would go into. I kind of got put in front of some different businesses that my father was involved in, and realized I really like marketing and just business ownership. It just seemed like something cool to do. So when I went to college, I still kind of had that same idea. I studied marketing. And then when I graduated, it was like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? So I ended up getting a job in higher education, recruiting students for a college in Nashville, Tennessee. And so I was basically in collegiate admissions and really didn't like it. Was pretty broke. Was married and had a couple kids.
You said it was collegiate stuff?
Yeah.
So athletes?
No. I was recruiting students.
Oh yeah, so you had to. So you would be like the guy making the presentation when you come to, or at the school fair, or what you did.
Doing that. I had to travel quite a bit. I was going to college fairs at high schools and things like that.
Yeah, that's.
And I was primarily just recruiting students for the college, and it was mostly a nursing school. It was a little liberal arts college, but
you said Nashville.
Yeah, in Nashville.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Great town. Lived there for about 5 years.
Nashville's a great town. How'd you end up there? You just found the job? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I got the job there, and it made sense at the time, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And took on the job, and I got really burnt out on it, and just got tired of it. And so I was homeschooled all through high school.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So the first time I ever actually sat in a classroom or had to take notes was my freshman year of college.
Wow.
So very different learning experience than most people, especially back then. Like homeschooling is really popular now, but not so much back then.
No.
So
And it's a very
fast,
accelerated path, right? Like you can go as fast as you want. You can
it,
learn different things and right.
yeah, it very well can be. I mean, I followed a kind of a standard curriculum at the time. Um, but so fast forward to the job that I had in collegiate admissions, I got burnt
Mhm.
out on it, but I realized that I had a skill set where I knew what students needed to do to prepare for college, and
Mhm.
especially homeschool students, because I was that guy. And there's lots of collegiate admissions counselors and courses and things to help students as far as what they need to do to get scholarships and better financial aid
Right.
and all that. But most homeschool students, they were kind of out of that loop because they didn't have those guidance counselors and stuff.
Got it.
So I,
Right. Right.
so I started creating a course and basic material and information on how to prepare homeschool students for college. Just I
Okay.
saw an opportunity, kind of like those entrepreneurial ideas were rolling around in the back of my head.
Right. It's an
So
online course, right? Like an online.
yeah, exactly. And then I was doing a little bit of consulting and like talking to homeschool groups and stuff as far as what they needed to do and prepare.
Right.
But what I realized was that just because someone needs something, if they don't know that they need it, that's not a very good business.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
well, but I'm trying to think. So when you're homeschooled, you can do like extracurricular activities with the school because that's why you participate. But you don't get assigned a guidance counselor or anything, right?
Correct.
You're
Yeah.
totally on your own.
And the state laws are very different now than they were back then. It wasn't, you
Got it.
couldn't play sports in the high schools.
Oh, really?
You
You
could,
couldn't?
yeah. No, no, no. That's all been that's a new thing. That's all only
Ah,
happened probably in the past 20 years or so, 15 years.
oh, wow.
But
Okay.
back then, no, like you were homeschooled. If you wanted to play sports, you were doing it through like parks and recreation and just junior
Got it.
leagues and church leagues and things like
Yeah.
that.
You
So
can do
very,
varsity sports.
very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as part of that, starting that consulting and course, I realized I needed a website in order to
Okay.
get myself out there so people could learn what I was doing. And so I
Right. It
taught
wasn't Squarespace or Wix in those days.
no, I mean, there was WordPress.
Okay. Yeah. But
So
now
I,
you had to program yourself, right? Or somebody
exactly.
had to program it
Yep.
for you. Right.
Yeah. So I had to teach myself web design. So
Okay.
to build my own website. So I started doing that and then built that site out and then also realized, well, just because you have a website, people don't know that it's there. So I had to learn SEO and then social media. And so I was doing this and then realized, hey, I actually like this part of it. This is marketing. This is the digital side.
Right.
And I really enjoy this. Around the same time, I convinced my now ex-wife to start a blog and website in the health and wellness space.
Right. I
And
think I read your bio about this, right? It was a
yeah,
women's health and
yeah,
wellness.
it was a health and wellness website around content, education, information, just to,
Hmm.
how to be healthier, kind
Right.
of like a more uh, holistic outlook on health.
But was it a business or was it just really a
No,
hobby?
it's just a hobby. It was just
Yeah.
a hobby.
There was no monetary,
No,
like,
not at all at the
right?
time. This is um, around 2009.
Okay.
I started doing that. So I realized that I like doing this stuff. I like creating things online. But okay, this consulting thing that I was doing called Homeschool College Counselor, there's not as big of an opportunity as I thought that there was just because those students need it. They don't know
Will
that
they
they need
just
it.
figure it out themselves or
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times their parents, they just don't think about it. It's kind of like an afterthought, and they weren't willing to pay for it.
because nowadays everybody and their grandmother uses a college
Exactly.
counselor for essays, for getting in, for the whole.
Exactly. I was a little ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess you were
So
ahead of the people that you wanted to do business with too.
yeah, very much so. And
Right.
that happens sometimes, right? So
Yeah.
I had several friends and family members that were starting businesses around the same time, just
Okay.
small like local businesses and things, consulting and others. And so they saw that I built a website for myself, and so they started asking me if I could help them do the same. I'm like, okay, sure, this is fun, I'll do it. And,
Right.
throw
But it
me
wasn't your background. You figured this out
no,
on your own.
totally. Like I had no background. I mean, I'd always been a tech early adopter, so
Okay.
I'd been like on
Just as a personal interest.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played around with blogs and
Right.
like social media, like MySpace way back in the day.
Yeah. Right.
Facebook and just all of that stuff. And so I'd always look at how can you use the technology like from one industry in another industry. And so I've
Right.
kind of always been an outside the box thinker in that
Now, was
question, so to
WordPress
speak.
much simpler than it is now? Was it much easier to do things, or
Um,
was it simpler so it was harder to do things?
yes and no.
Yeah.
So it was in order to make a lot of changes, you needed to know code. So I had to teach myself that.
Yeah.
But I felt like the interface was simpler. but there
Yeah, there
was
was many plugins now that are available, that whole
exactly.
marketplace, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have nearly as many plugins. You didn't have as many options. You had to like hard code things and figure it out.
Yeah.
So I would say now I hate the interface now just because it's changed so much and it's confusing to me.
It's very complicated. Yeah.
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 So, but I mean, but again, I got my start then doing that
Yeah.
differently. So if I would get started now, I think I'd probably find it easier than it was back then. But
Yeah. Right.
it's
Because
hard to
there's
say.
so many
It's
tools. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So to go back, I started helping out these friends and family members just to build a website, had them throw me a couple bucks,
Right.
buy
Sure.
me a beer, whatever. And I'm like, oh, I actually enjoy this. Maybe there's a business opportunity here.
Yeah. Plus, now you have customers. So before you started the business,
Exactly.
that's
I
always
had
good
some
to look.
testimonials and like I could
Yeah.
throw up just like some examples of people.
Yeah.
So, and then I took a course on how to like market to local businesses. So
Okay.
because realizing, this was around 2009, 2010.
Right.
And so a lot of like smaller local businesses, if they had a website, it was not
Very
a good
basic.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was basic. It wasn't search engine optimized. It was just not good, not
Yeah.
mobile friendly at all.
Right. Now, was this a course, like a local course through like an economic development agency,
No, it
or
was
online,
it
or
was somebody who was teaching digital marketing, but focused specifically around local businesses.
online?
Yeah, online. Just
Growing it
realizing,
through your community. Okay.
yeah, it was like somebody that I think they had an agency and realized that you could teach other people how to do some of this, where they could go and they're charging you $500, $1,000, whatever for the course,
Right.
and so just learning some of those basic things. And had already been teaching myself and learning them some, but that kind of accelerated my knowledge.
Yeah. Okay.
So as part of that, that blog that I had created for my ex-wife, I started using that as a testing ground for my paying clients on things that could work.
Okay.
So new design features and functionality, SEO strategies, utilizing social media as a promotional tool, and things
Okay.
like that. And those worked really well. So I was growing my now boutique agency called Spears Marketing, and then
Okay.
also helping her with this website on the side.
And what were you
And
doing, like Facebook stuff? Because there probably wasn't a lot of like the whole Facebook ad ecosystem that's been
there
created,
was
right?
none of that. It
Yeah.
was more just using it. I looked at social media as just an outlet to put information out there that would drive people back to your website.
Just like posts. That was almost like a landing page or a funnel to get people to your website.
Yeah, just creating content about the services or products that they offered. And because if you liked a page, this was back before the algorithm had changed, any
Right.
page or person that you were friends with or content that you would like, it would show everything in the feed.
Right.
Very different world back then than it is
Yeah,
now.
because first of all, there's a lot more people using it, but I think they caught on to guys like you and said, "Oh, well, if he's doing it, we can do stuff here and keep them in
Yeah.
our ecosystem and do it that way." So then the ads came up and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And my attitude around it all has always been quality over quantity. Of let's just
Yeah.
create something really high quality in the basics of what we're doing, and not just creating content for the sake of creating content or spamming it.
Right.
It was just doing it for a very intentional purpose. That's all
Right.
changed now. Where
Yeah, the algorithm caught on to that. You can't just put up crap. You got to put up decent
Yeah,
stuff. And I
exactly.
agree. You overwhelm yourself with trying to put up tons and tons and tons of content
Sure.
when you can just be doing good stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that whole industry, the whole market has changed so much. But that's really how I got my start in the marketing world. And then I built Spears Marketing, my boutique agency, for several years. And then I got started getting burnt out on client services. Working with clients, I'm sure, as you know, that it's great and challenging and is the best and the worst part of it.
Right.
And so I had been building on the side this blog that my then wife was creating, and it was growing really well. Like those tests that I was trying out for my paying clients was working really well. We started to monetize it a little bit using like affiliate links. So she would recommend different products and stuff.
Right. Because you had readers and users, now you had a community that you
exactly.
Yeah.
Started creating an email list.
Yeah.
And just recommending like products on Amazon or other companies that had like natural health products or food, like
and they use your link and you get a little bit of a
exactly
piece of the action.
And so this site was growing a lot, and those SEO strategies and tests that I was using was working really well, and I saw a big opportunity there. Because basically, what I've always been good at is seeing down the road and taking technologies or strategies or things from one industry and bringing it to another.
Right.
So I took everything that I had learned in the internet marketing space, as far as like email opt-ins and
Right.
SEO and social media, and brought it into the health space, which no one was doing at the time. And so I went all in on growing that with her. And she was like the face of the brand, and I was the back end, the tech and the marketing, and employing all these different strategies.
You said it was a wellness. Well, now it's
Yeah,
become a community, but it was wellness for women or wellness for moms or
it was primarily moms. That website, which is still up and running now, is wellnessmama.com.
got it. Okay.
And yeah, so it was designed primarily for women. And back in its heyday, like at the height of it, it was getting 10 million page views a month.
Wow.
We started a podcast for it in 2014, which that's had
Right.
something like 300 million downloads in the
Hard to
past.
do in those days.
Yeah, I
Podcast.
mean, and she was one of the first women to really start a podcast, especially in the health and wellness space. And she
Yeah.
went into that kicking and screaming and didn't want to. And I'm like, this is where the future is. Like, this is the
Yeah.
opportunity.
There it
And
is.
so I've
Everybody
always
wants
had
to hear.
that foresight just
Yeah.
to look and see
Yeah.
what's coming
Kind of
next.
see what the trend is. Yeah.
Yeah, so grew that for several years. That
Okay.
was my primary focus. And then realized we're making a lot of money for a lot of other people by promoting their products and things.
Of course. You're just getting a
And
little.
yeah, you're getting a 10%, maybe a 20% cut on products that you're recommending, but everybody
Right.
else is making a lot of money. And so we had tutorials on how to make your own personal care products.
Okay.
And so these tutorials were very popular. It was like toothpaste and deodorant, shampoo and conditioner, and a lot of other things as well. And the audience, they like them. But when you hear the same request over and over of, will you just make this and sell it so I don't have to make it anymore? I want the
That
convenience
you would
of it.
say, like, hey, I
Yeah.
appreciate your recipe, but can I just buy this from you?
Yeah, I'm
That's
tired
funny.
of making it. It works better. It's healthier. It's not using toxic ingredients, but I'm tired of making it myself in my kitchen. We just
Right.
make it and sell it to me. And so when you hear that request enough times, you realize that there's probably a business opportunity. So that was the impetus for starting Wellnesse, my current company.
Okay.
So this was we ended up launching or went into the process of in 2019 of creating that business and took it to market in 2020. Around that same time, the marriage fell apart, ended up getting divorced, separating out the companies. So she took over running Wellness Mama, I took over running Wellnesse. And that's been my primary focus over the past 6 years, is building and growing that business. And
Now,
so,
is that a difficult marketplace? Because, there's a lot of natural products now, right? Online, offline,
oh yeah.
Amazon owns Whole Foods. You got a lot of stuff there. So was it like that when you got started and you just fight your way through the marketing to get some market
So,
share? What's the story?
so yes and no.
Okay.
When we started, there were less options. There were some. But the
Okay.
goal with going into personal care, so oral, hair, and skincare,
Okay.
realizing that no matter how health oriented someone is and how much they've changed their lifestyle to eating real whole foods, like more like a Paleolithic type diet,
Right.
working out regularly, and switching out those using filtered water and air filters and all of these things, that because all the toxins that we're inundated with every day. No matter how many changes someone has made,
Yeah.
often the changes that they're the least likely to make are those personal care products, because those are so central to the person, who they are, and it's so ingrained, the habits that they use. Like the toothpaste that they buy is probably what their parents bought.
Right.
And so it's just a habit. You go to the store, you buy Pert Plus off
Yeah,
the
you
shelf,
Crest,
or
you buy
Crest.
Crest. I've been
Yeah,
using Head and Shoulders since I was a kid with my dad.
exactly. Old Spice deodorant, whatever. It's
Right.
just, it's that thing that's just so ingrained.
Right.
And we also realized that most of those more natural personal care products, they didn't work as well as the conventional and very often toxic alternatives.
Right.
So the goal in making these was to create products that were healthier, more natural, and that worked better. At least as good, if not better.
Yeah, because you're trying to get somebody to try something that they probably subliminally don't want to try. They comfortable doing whatever they're
Exactly.
doing. They change their habits.
Yeah, I mean, when you use the same deodorant.
Palms, that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there
Palms are
were
big.
there were a few options out there, but not as many.
Yeah.
And so we had an opportunity. But the biggest advantage that we had was already having an email list and having an audience who we could market to.
Which you carried over from.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
look, they say that's the key to everything. You want to build a podcast, you want to build your business, you got to build an email list. You got to build a list that people are kind of raising their hand and saying, hey, please market to me. I mean, now it's a little crazy, right? You go to your inbox and there's, I
So
think
many.
I subscribed from a half a dozen emails this morning. I don't even know how I got on their list. I don't even recognize the company.
Exactly.
So
You know,
prolific.
it's funny how much that's changed, because back in the day
Yeah.
it was like, you've got mail. And now it's like,
Right.
you've got mail.
Yeah. Could you imagine if I don't have any notifications. Wouldn't stop all day. My notification would be going off if we had that on
I
our
turned
inbox.
off email notifications a long time ago. I mean, I get text message notifications on some others,
Yeah.
but
Right.
but for email, no, it would, because it is nonstop.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of noise in the market, and it's trying to cut through that. But at
Right.
the time, because we had a loyal audience, that was an advantage. Where
Right.
most companies, they see an opportunity and they create something just based on that opportunity, but it's very hard to cut through the noise or get in front of that ideal audience. That's basically what I was attempting to do when
Right.
I started the homeschool college counselor, and so I learned a lot in
But you didn't
with
know anything.
Wellnesse.
You didn't know
Yeah,
anything then,
right,
right?
exactly. And I made that same mistake. So several years ago, I started an outdoor equipment company with my brothers called Rewild
Okay.
Gear.
Right.
And so I made that same mistake again of, we wanted to create really high quality products for the outdoor industry to scratch our own niche of like knives and fire starters and backpacking
Right.
grills and camping
Exactly.
utensils.
Real cool stuff.
Yeah. And so we realized we could create better products than were out there and that would meet our needs and a lot of others, but we didn't have an audience. And so that
Right.
business has been a slog just to get in front of people and try to get them to purchase and acquire customers. Also, because we're not able to advertise in the same manner because we sell knives, and Meta and TikTok and all those, they
Got it.
consider that a weapon.
Yeah. No, yeah, you didn't anticipate that. I think a lot of people do that. They have what seems to be a good idea, right? Maybe they even run it by some people and they love it, and then they invest money into product development. And
Yeah.
then they're like, all right, how are we going to market this thing? But then they haven't figured all that stuff out ahead of time. Like you said,
And that's the
oh,
most
knives
important
are gonna
part.
be a challenge. Who's going to want to buy this stuff? And how much will they pay? And how do we
Yeah.
reach them? And,
Yeah, exactly.
it's the struggle. That's the key, right? If you have the audience, you and I had a loyal audience, we could find something to sell them.
Totally. Yeah.
But if we had all kinds of stuff to sell, we didn't have anybody to talk to, then what we're going to do? And I think
Yeah.
it's backwards. People do it backwards is what I'm saying.
For sure. And I think that just goes back to, have you read the book, The E-Myth? Michael
Yeah,
Gerber?
of course. A bunch
Yeah.
of different myths, but certainly the base one, the one for lawyers. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that gets into it as far as like
Yeah.
the technician who they think that they can make a better widget. And that's great. They can. And there's all these other factors around starting a business that they don't realize. And so you kind of have to separate out all those roles. But I think creating that audience, that's the most important part, because just because you hang up a shingle doesn't mean anybody's going to see it.
Right.
So you got to do your market research and start creating a loyal audience who's going to buy what you're creating.
Yep, absolutely. I think there should be like a graveyard, or maybe there is, of all these great products that people had that just people can't sell and market. And then there's things that are, not so great, but the people behind them are really good at marketing and networking, promoting their products, and they I use the expression, sell the crap out of
Totally.
whatever they're doing,
Yeah, I think that's where the opportunity lies. When you can find someone, maybe he's an engineer or just an amazing product designer, but doesn't know anything about marketing. Where
Yeah.
if you can marry those two, that's where the rubber meets the road, and where you can
Yeah.
be really successful and create something so much better that's going to succeed in the long term.
Yeah, I was just listening to a podcast about chicken soup for the.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Oh, it's Jack something, right?
Yeah, right. Jack Canfield.
Jack Canfield. Yeah.
But he was not really a marketer. He was like more of a bohemian type of, hey, feel good about stuff. But he met Mark Victor Hansen,
Yeah.
who was a brilliant salesman.
Yeah.
And they blew this thing up. Without the two of them together, it wouldn't have happened. It's just, a weird name, and people felt good about it, and they read the book, right? You and I write this great book, that'd be it. But they really ran with it. So that's a good example of a formula that works.
Totally. Yeah. And I think the hesitation for a lot of people, especially those that are creating something, is they're like, oh, I've got this amazing thing. It should just sell by itself. And if I partner with someone else, where they're going to take so much, but what are they actually doing?
Right.
Not realizing that, no, actually the person that's marketing or creating the sales like they're the one who's providing just as much, if not more value than you are creating that product. Because if you 100% of zero is still zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a hard lesson for a lot of people to learn.
Look, there's really, if you look at it objectively, right? There's a reason that every major product company in the world has salespeople,
Yeah.
that they don't just post up a website and just say, "Oh, people will buy it. Don't worry about it,"
Yeah.
because it doesn't work that way. You have to
Exactly.
get people to buy. They don't do it on their own.
Yeah. I mean, it's the reason why sales is the highest paid profession in the world. Just because if you can sell something, you can write your check to wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do. I mean,
Right.
it's a skill
And
set
that's
that
true
everyone
for,
should learn.
like, we're good salespeople, marketing, whatever. If your business failed, if the wellness company didn't do well for whatever reason, you could start in another industry.
Yeah, exactly.
To sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the challenges you've had with I mean, you explained with Rewild what the challenges was there. What are the
Yeah,
challenges you've had
definitely.
with the company?
I think it's more of a scaling thing.
Okay.
So we've been around for 5.5 years now, and we've done very well. I mean, had some major missteps early on as far as
Okay.
hires and
Yeah.
over leveraging and things like that, and almost went belly up in the
Oh
second
yeah.
year.
All right. I want to hear more about that. So how'd you get out of that?
Yeah, well, part of it was we made a hire who was basically running the company as a
Okay.
COO, and
Okay.
there were some cultural differences, and I wasn't inspecting what I was expecting as much, and so letting her just kind of do her thing, and it didn't have enough checks and balances in place. And so she ended up leaving and had hired a lot of her friends to do things, or paying them, wasn't performing,
Uh,
unpaid invoices. There was a lot.
yeah.
And so we had to inject additional capital into the company where it should have been paying for itself.
Yeah.
But just because of some of these poor decisions that she had made. And yeah, we almost went under, but we were able to turn it around. I brought someone in to kind of help
New manager.
right the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and handle the managerial and the operational side of things, and then eventually promoted her to CEO. So we turned it around and are now profitable and doing very well.
Yeah.
But I'd say the biggest challenge right now is new customer acquisition, because
Yeah.
we had an audience and we leveraged that and they became great loyal customers, but that can only go so far, because
Right.
any one channel, it's limited.
Yeah.
One audience, there's only so many people there, so much that it can do.
Of course.
So it's getting outside of that and getting to a new audience, getting to a new customer
Plus, you're
segment.
dealing with the people, other people that are screaming at your customers, saying, "Hey, what about us? What about us?"
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, because anytime you start taking over market share within the marketplace, whoever you're taking those customers from, they're getting mad. They're like, "Oh, we're losing customers," and so they're throwing
right.
more money at it, or trying different ad strategies or marketing tactics.
Yeah.
And then there's new companies that are up and coming that they're trying to take over market
They're
share as
saying,
well.
"Hey, if they're doing well, obviously it's a market, and we can grab some market share."
Yeah, yeah. So it's been a very fun industry and project to work on, and there's still so much growth there. So we primarily focus in the oral care space. So we're oral, hair, and skincare, but over 80% of our
So
business
mostly
is.
toothpaste and mouthwash and things like that.
Yeah, no mouthwash at present, but primarily toothpaste.
Okay.
Because it's an all-natural fluoride-free toothpaste that uses an ingredient called hydroxyapatite, which hydroxyapatite. So that's what your teeth and bones are made of. It's a naturally occurring mineral. So utilizing that in your toothpaste in place of fluoride, which fluoride is a neurotoxin and not healthy. We should never have been using that. So by using a toothpaste that uses a microhydroxyapatite like we use, it helps to remineralize your teeth. So if you have soft spots, cavities, etc., it will help to repair those and fill them in. So, and also helps to whiten them and have a better smile as well. Because anything you're putting on your body, you're putting in your body, especially in the mouth, because it's so porous. And so we want to make sure that we're using only ingredients that are healthy and beneficial to the oral microbiome and to beneficial bacteria.
Okay, let's do this. We're about 30 minutes in. Let's take a brief, break for a commercial, just to recognize the people that are supporting me, and then let's come back. And I'd like to talk more about, like, how did you get into this space? How do you explore this? How do you discover all these things? What's good and what's not good? What's working? That type of stuff. Because I just use I mean, I use Sensodyne because I have sensitive, but that's probably not good for me either. So we'll talk about that.
Definitely not.
All right, let's take a break and we'll come right back.
Sounds good.
I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Evenue. It's the all-in-one platform for small businesses. So maybe you're getting your calendaring from one software and you're invoicing from another, and you are marketing through another one, running your email system and all those types of things, docu-signing, documents. Evenue is a platform that we use as one of our sponsors to run our entire business. So we take all those tools and it merges them all into one. And there's other features like auto payments and integrations with QuickBooks, social media marketing management, and funnels that'll really allow you to run your whole business. So if you want to learn more about those tools that we use, visit evenue.com, EVONUE.com to learn more. There's also a link in the show notes. And be sure to tell them that the Accidental Entrepreneur referred you. This podcast is brought to you by our affiliate sponsor, iEmployee. iEmployee is a virtual assistant service that hires almost anyone for any role in your company right out of the Philippines. Most roles range from $7 to $9 an hour for highly skilled and experienced VAs. And whether you need an executive assistant, social media manager, video editor, customer service, sales, you name it, they have it. We use iEmployee for our VA services, from editing and promoting the podcast to all the PR and promotion of our law firm. iEmployee acts as a virtual field supervisor on the back end with live video monitoring and reports on a daily basis with screenshots of your VA's workday, and along with complete HR and payroll duties. No more paying for overpriced and underqualified workers. There's a link in the show notes to get a 1-week free trial, and I encourage you to take advantage of it. All right, Seth. So let's talk about that journey. I guess these products came out from the blog or the women's site, right, with your ex-wife.
Mm-hmm. That was the original impetus for starting it.
And then you split. So you have Wellnesse, and she's got
Wellness Mama.
Wellness Mama, right? Yep. Mama. It was some mama something. Okay. So let's talk about the research, because there's some science behind this, right? There's some holistic with a W, kind of, overall view of the wellness space and what you should be putting in your body and what you shouldn't be. So where did all that epiphany come from?
Yeah. So my ex-wife, she was a researcher. She was a journalism major in college and gone back to school for nutrition and just really good at research. So she would dig into all the science behind it and creating products. So she formulated everything originally. And now, so we work with a lot of holistic and biological dentists. So we have a dental advisory board that makes sure that we're on top of all the latest science and everything that's coming up. So because, there's so many products that we use every day that the ingredients in them are not healthy for us. They are toxic.
We just take it for granted that
exactly. We just trust these big companies who have massive marketing budgets, and their whole goal is to sell us products and just get us using them day after day. And often the ingredients that are used in them, not only are they not great for us, but the reason they use them is because they're less expensive than others. So when you're a massive publicly traded company, say like Procter & Gamble or others, they have a fiduciary responsibility to maximize profit at all costs for their shareholders.
Right, of course.
And so that's what they're doing. They're not focused on how can we create the cleanest, healthiest, best performing products. They're like, how can we split that difference between products that work, but also that are inexpensive to make so that we're making the most money?
Right. But they are FDA approved, right? It's just maybe the standards are.
So, okay. I mean, do you trust the FDA that they have your best interest at heart?
I don't know. I just take it for granted, right?
Exactly. And that's what most people do. It's like, because we were sold a line for many, many years that if something is approved by the government or other regulatory agency, that it's healthy, that is actually good for us. But there's so much stuff coming out that's not true. Big business has been in collusion with the government for many, many years.
Yeah, well, they have the money to influence congressmen,
exactly,
and, action committees, whatever. It's not corrupt. It's just the reality.
It's the way that business has been done, and that doesn't mean that it's ethical or the right way to do it. And so I think it's question everything. Like, I've always been an outside the box thinker, and just look. Just because someone says something is healthy, is it?
No, absolutely.
If you go into the grocery store, if you go down the middle aisles, everything is processed food. These have all been created by food
This country
scientists
they are, right? In this
who,
country.
yeah,
Not.
exactly. Yeah, in Europe, it's a little different.
Yeah, it's
But
not. They don't use as much stuff.
yeah, if you go around the outside edges of the grocery store, that's where the healthiest foods are because it's actually real food. I mean, granted,
Right.
they've probably been injected with things and everything, and so it's not as
Right.
healthy as
Depends
if
on
you're
the
going.
store.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whole Foods is a little different than, say
Yeah.
Kroger or Safeway or anything like that.
Right.
But we've just been sold a line of goods for so many years
Yeah.
that things are healthy. I mean, look at all the cigarette ads back in the day.
Yeah. We all thought that was great. Right?
9 out of 10 doctors
Right.
say that like Marlboro is healthier than the other. It's like, I mean, or Coca-Cola or anything where it's just
You
sugar
look at it
laden
now,
crap.
you're like, that's ridiculous. But we would buy that stuff. I think, like, look at even meat consumption. I was listening to something about, obviously I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I was listening to something or reading something maybe even that, like, where did our dependence on red meat come from? Like before the 1950s, it wasn't like that, where you'd have a steak at every meal and whatever. And then it became this whole thing. A lot of it was because of the farming industry and government subsidies. They pushed this stuff and it became part of school, school lunches and the whole thing. And now we're like, why the hell are we eating so much red meat? It's not good for you and things like that.
Well, I mean, I'll push back a little bit on that as far as how healthy red meat is, because then that's marketing as well, being told by the vegan industry and others like plant-based.
Oh, yeah. But I'm
so
saying
you've got to
influence one way or the other.
totally,
Right. Of course.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole we could totally go down if you wanted to, is like just as far as anything health related there goes, because before we were using beef, we were eating bison. I mean, there was, they say somewhere close to 70 million bison that roamed the plains back before we started moving west and killing them off primarily to destroy the Native American populations, because that was their food supply and just everything that they used, which was also like way healthier than cattle, just because like their hooves and the way that they actually improve the soil and everything, so less carbon emissions and everything. So
but it was cheaper for big industry to raise cows.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, when it comes to like personal care products, though,
like don't just take it for granted that what's in the bottle is okay for you just because it was approved. Yeah.
So what's fascinating, though, the history of this is Procter and Gamble created the soap opera. So they were marketing to stay-at-home moms who were and just creating programs and shows in order that they found entertaining, but to sell soap.
Just they could place their products.
Exactly. It was all about product placement. That created the modern advertising industry around this. And so because that started like in the 50s and 60s, and so we're still a product of that today. The reason why those companies have such a large market share, because that's become so ingrained in our psyche. That's what we use. That's what our parents use. That's what their parents use. Yeah. And so most people, they're not questioning, is this healthy? What is actually in this? They just like, okay, this is what I've always gotten, and just take it for granted.
Right. Let's stick this in my mouth. I don't, if somebody came to you and said, listen, I know you got to clean your teeth. Here's some paste, rub it on your teeth and then rinse your mouth. You'd be like, this could kill me. But now we take it for granted.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many industries that are like that. They just survive based on the reputation that they had, based on trust. But nobody's questioned, why are we blindly following this information or advice?
Right. And maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but you have to at least know for yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's question those assumptions.
Right. But we're all caught up in our lives. We stop by CVS or Walmart or whatever it is, Dwayne Reed or whatever we have out here. Yeah. And you just grab it off the shelf and you grab what you're familiar with, because that's how marketing works, right? Familiarity and stuff like that. But your products are not on the shelf, right? Aren't you? You're web only, or you?
We're primarily direct to consumer.
Okay.
So we are going into a little bit more retail. We're on Amazon and Thrive Market, as well as our website. Right. But we are going into more retail, because in order to really scale and grow, again, these are convenience products that people use every day. So when they run out, they're not thinking, oh, I need to go online and buy this. Like, I'm just going to swing by the store and get it. Or it's just an afterthought when you're already out shopping.
So someday I might see some products in CVS.
Exactly. Yeah. That'll be a little bit further down the road. We're focusing on more smaller local retailers that are already in more the health space.
Small chains and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I mentioned before, we work with a lot of holistic and biological dentists. And so they carry our products in their offices as well.
Ah, see. So they sell to their patients and stuff.
Yeah, or just recommend that they go to our website and buy. So a little of both.
Yeah, you brought up scaling before, and I talk a lot about it on the show. I've had people on that are just, they just deal with scaling, and they won't even work with some businesses if you're not really ready to scale. I think
Yeah,
people think like, oh wow, let's scale, let's get into CVS, but it could literally destroy your company if you're not,
totally.
positioned, positioned to do that. So, what kind of challenges have you faced in that regard? Because you did bring it up before, so.
Yeah, so customer acquisition has been the biggest challenge as far as doing that profitably,
Yeah,
because there's a lot of companies when they start, their whole goal is to raise money, grow as fast as possible, never be profitable,
right,
but just have that hockey stick growth. So, and the whole goal is to sell to a much larger player, and then that's
right,
where they're going to make their money.
yeah,
I don't think that's good about business fundamentals. To me, I want to be profitable from day one.
right,
And you've really got to know your numbers, because I mean, you could be profitable on the back end, say whatever the lifetime value is, you're making money down the road, but
right.
not after the initial sale. But to me, that's a gamble as well.
It's a big
Because,
gamble.
and so I want to be profitable on the first sale. So that means we have to be a little bit more conservative with our ads, with our marketing strategies, and making sure that there is a payout, and that we're profitable from day one.
Yeah.
So that's been a challenge as far as scaling, because the more money you have, you can just throw stuff at the wall and just, see what
Big companies
sticks.
have money to burn, and that's why they want to buy a company like yours, because it costs them more to
Makes
build it
sense.
from day one, where they could just pour gasoline on the fire. But
Right, exactly. And they'll often
not,
have economies of scale
yeah,
where they can leverage some of those systems and things that they already have in place, whether
right,
that's supply chain or
right.
marketing or
Yeah,
advertising, et
maybe they
cetera.
can negotiate better purchasing deals than you can, or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think that's been some of the biggest challenges, is just being able to scale quicker,
yeah,
without going into debt, without taking on financing,
right.
and just, because and especially when you go into retail,
Yeah,
that is so much more cash intensive because the amount of inventory you have to carry.
yeah. They have requirements and stuff.
And the
Yeah,
terms as well. Often you're not getting as good at terms. Like they'll
right.
have like net 30, net 60, et cetera, where they could have the products, for a couple of months before they paid you anything. And
Yeah,
so we're coming out of pocket in order to manufacture those products and without seeing anything.
yeah. I've had clients I've worked with that have gotten, their heads handed to them with companies like Walmart and stuff that have big buying control,
Exactly. Yeah.
and they want products, and then they're like, listen, we're not paying you for that, so sue us.
Right.
Or if
And
you
they,
want 1,000 units back, we can't sell it, and then what do, right?
right. Yeah. I mean, that's a challenge. And I think there's so many entrepreneurs where they
Yeah,
see they get a contract with Walmart or Target or anything like that. And it says,
right,
oh, hooray, we're going to be in there, but not looking at what the terms are. And they're just
right.
totally betting the farm on that retail channel.
Big time, big
And so
time.
that's why I think the direct to consumer model is so great, because you're proving out the concept, you're getting customers, you're making sales,
Right.
and then you can scale up a little bit slower. But to me, that's a better way to do it, just because you're going to be profitable from day one and have
Right. You
stronger business
manage your
fundamentals.
profitability. I mean, look,
Exactly.
that's one of the biggest mistakes business owners make. They don't know their financials. They don't understand really what their cost of goods sold and their actual operating costs are. So what their
Totally.
real profit per unit is. And, eventually you can't, if you're not making money from the beginning, it's eventually going to catch up with you. Maybe you get lucky and you get a private equity exit or something like that. But for the most
Yeah.
part, if you don't have a profitable company that looks good on paper, has the good numbers, you kind of have to know those fundamentals up front. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know about your supply chain, but has any of the stuff that's going on in the world with all these tariff wars and things like that, is that affecting you, or
It hasn't yet. I mean, there will be a small effect from some things. I mean,
yeah,
the vast majority of our products are all of our actual products are made in the U.S. There's some of like our tongue scrapers and our toothbrushes. Some of those are made in China, but
yeah.
because we use co-manufacturers for it's all of our formulations and everything, and we
So
design
it's
the
all
products that way.
co-packing. They do, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So
right,
we contract with a manufacturer to create the
right,
products for us.
right. But all the ingredients mostly come from U.S.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a few things that come abroad. Our toothbrushes, like those are made in China because no one in
Okay.
the U.S. is making those.
Well, that's the problem, right? I have a client of mine's a custom shirt maker, and he tells me there's no button manufacturer. Like, there's no company in the United States that makes shirt buttons. It's
Really?
ridiculous. Yeah. So you're telling me there's
Wow.
no manufacturer in the United States that
Yeah.
makes toothbrushes?
Not that we found, and at least not to our specifications. Because that's the
Right.
thing. Not only, even if you can find a manufacturer that is creating something, because we're so specific on the ingredients and like the
Yeah.
materials, the raw materials that we use, because we want it to be as healthy and as clean as possible,
Right.
then we have different standards than a lot of others do. I mean, it's one thing if you're just
Right.
throwing something out there and trying to make it as cheaply and
Yeah, and
as
maybe
inexpensive as
Procter and
possible.
Gamble makes their own toothbrushes, but they're not selling them to you.
I really doubt it. I
They
mean,
don't. Yeah.
maybe. I
Yeah,
mean,
maybe they don't.
yeah, like
Yeah.
our toothbrushes, we use bamboo, which is a much more sustainable material.
Sustainable, sure.
Yeah, P&G, they're using plastic.
Of
So
course.
it's cheaper.
Petroleum-based products.
Exactly. That's the vast majority of everything. And
Yeah.
this is a rabbit hole that I've gone down quite a bit over the past couple years.
Our dependence on like petroleum-based products.
Well, not only that, but how the planned obsolescence of every
Yeah.
product that we use, which, and
Right.
that goes back to using these petroleum-based things as opposed to metals, like more
Right.
durable, hard goods.
Right. That you
Because,
wouldn't have to throw out all the time.
yeah, I mean, look at like Maytag, our
Yeah.
washers and dryers. Like,
Oh,
do you remember
yeah.
the commercials back in the
Appliances are
day?
ridiculous. Yeah. You can. I was just listening to somebody. It is in most cases cheaper to buy a new product, a new appliance, whatever it is, than because first of all, there's just no money in repairing. The companies don't want you to repair.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
no Maytag. Is there still a Maytag appliance guy?
I don't know, but remember those commercials? Like you would see it, the
Yeah.
Maytag guy just sitting there
Yeah,
waiting
with
for the
little
call and never
uniforms,
get
a
him.
little hat.
The
Yeah,
little hat, yeah.
I think it's a dead profession.
I think so. But I mean, and maybe with all these tariffs, that's a good thing that's going to come out of it, where we start repairing things just because the cost
we
to
have to,
purchase.
right? Exactly.
Exactly. Which, I mean, there's trade-offs in anything that happens, politically or otherwise.
Right.
And it's never all bad. It's never all good.
Right.
And so the flip side of that could be that we start consuming less and actually reducing our consumption and reusing those things that we already have.
It's probably as long as the parts industry, because
Sure.
that's what the problem, right? The part
Exactly.
is more than buying a new unit.
Yeah. The entire automotive industry, like that's gotten so messed up over the past few years because
Yeah.
back when the automotive bailouts, when that happened, when Obama was president, what was that, like 2008 or something,
Yes.
somewhere around
Like
there?
that. Yeah.
So part of those auto bailouts, what the automotive industry they negotiated for, with part of that was that in order to get those bailouts coming through, people were incentivized to come and buy a new car. But those
Right.
used cars that they were trading in, they couldn't be resold. They had to be scrapped. So
Right.
it totally destroyed the used car market. And that's why it's less expensive to go buy a new car than a used one, just because it wiped out
and whatever. Right.
so much of that supply.
Yeah.
And so we see that so often just to try to prop up these cottage industries and destroys kind of that middle market, which for most people, I mean, that can be a better way to go. It's a little more economical. It's definitely more environmentally friendly.
Right.
So, we live in a very strange world where it's all
Very
just
much
about
so.
consuming as much as possible, making as much as possible, as opposed
Right.
to doing what's right.
Right. Well, that's the bad side of capitalism. Like, because we live
Exactly.
in a free society, and because we have public companies, and everybody's driven by profitability.
Yeah.
This is what happens. Like, you get crushed in the machine. You can't just do it. I mean, look, there are plenty of social entrepreneurs out there, and
Sure.
companies like yours that care about the quality of what they're doing, sustainability, and things like that. And that's a growing field, right? More and more
Yeah.
companies are getting involved in sustainability. So I hope that it moves the needle a little bit. It's
I
never
hope
gonna
so.
go away.
Yeah.
I mean, look, our dependence on oil and gasoline-based products is much worse in your industry than it is in like the auto industry. You go into a CVS, everything in the store is made with petroleum.
Yeah, exactly.
All plastic, and nobody realizes that. And by the way, as much as they talk about recycling and stuff, very, very, very little of it can be recycled. It's like a 5% at the most. And they have this whole thing about, right? That's another example about marketing, right?
Yeah.
They're now marketing that we're going to be able to recycle whatever 95% of this stuff within 10 years, and that's our goal. And we're doing all this stuff. Well, to the people that are younger and asleep at the wheel, they did that in the 70s. They made the same promise. And it never happened because it's not possible.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always in the future. In like 10 years, you're going to be doing it. But it's like, okay, what if we did all that now? Show me now.
Because you can't.
Exactly. Like,
Because you can't.
it's going to hurt our bottom line too much. Well, then why is that going to change down the road? So, yeah, you've been making profits hand over fist by doing things that are worse for people, worse for the environment. So why don't you just invest in that now and start doing it immediately and show us actually that your words have meaning. You're not just throwing us a line of goods.
No, because it's not they can't do it. They just can't do it. I mean, what do they want us to do? Well, take our shampoo bottles and go to the store and fill them up every time. They don't want to do that.
So
they want to save a bottle of shampoo.
Yeah. So this is a really interesting conversation because we're very much into sustainability. Like the tubes that we use are recycled sugarcane bioplastic. So those are actually compostable.
Yeah.
So you can recycle them, but you can actually compost them in like a commercial grade composter or one of those countertop, like the Lomi composters. Right. That. Yeah. We'll actually have customers that will email in and say, "Hey, I still don't want to use anything that I have to recycle or something like this. Could you sell this in glass?" And it's like, okay, well, you want a shampoo bottle made of glass that's going to be in the shower that could break.
Right.
Then that's
that you have to ship. Right. Which,
yes. It's heavier. The cost is going to go up drastically. You're not going to want to pay for it. And the potential downside ramifications of that, of a glass bottle in the shower that breaks and you slice your foot, you hit an artery, then you're suing us. And, it's...
Yeah, but you don't think about that. I do because I'm a lawyer. I'm thinking like, what could go wrong with this situation?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, there's always trade-offs.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're going to see in New York City now has rules where you have to compost. So buildings are putting in composting systems for their tenants because obviously each of the tenants not going to compost in their apartments.
Yeah,
and they have to separate out their garbage. So a lot of stuff's not going to happen unless they force people.
Yeah, I think
recycle all the time. I have no idea if it does anything.
Yeah, I think that's one of the. That's a hard one because I don't like people being forced into things, especially government mandates and whatnot. However, a lot of people, they're not going to do the right thing just because it's a convenience factor for them.
Yeah, look, in the big cities, you can't, unless you mandate it, buildings are not going to make it convenient and easy for tenants to be able to do that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're like, oh, this is an expense. I don't want to have to do it. It's cutting my bottom line.
Right.
But they're thinking so short term. They're not thinking long term, what's best for us, for people, for planet, and then also making a profit too.
Right.
But the composting thing is interesting because if you go to Europe, like I studied in Austria in college, and so they had 7 different types of trash receptacles.
7?
I believe it was 7. So they had like paper, plastic.
Oh, you had to separate it all out, right?
Compost, something called rest mule, which is things that were like mixed or wouldn't fit into any one thing. But I believe there was at least 5, and I think there were 7.
And you had to learn like which goes where.
Exactly. And as a dumb college student coming from America, where we're like, oh, there's just one trash.
Right.
I was like, what is this? This is crazy.
Make your beer burp and put it in the trash.
Right. But then as I look back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, they had it right because the country was so clean. Like the air was so clean, the water. We would go buy a case of beer. Yeah. And then it wasn't you could put the glass in the recycling thing, but you could also take those bottles back to the store where you bought it. You get a refund for turning those in, and then we just take that money and buy more beer with it.
In Austria.
Yeah, it was a great incentive.
They used to do that. They still do that in some states. There's a return policy, maybe Maine, New York. There's a couple of states that still do it, but get very little. How much would you get if you bought a 6-pack of beer in glass bottles for $20 and you go back to the store? How much do you get back?
I mean, this is 25 years ago, so
so it's $5.
Yeah, I mean, and the bottles were bigger. It was like let's say like a 6-pack. Yeah, like it was $7 for 6 packs. We'd probably get like $1 back, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So now you get like 5 cents for the bottle.
Yeah, and that doesn't seem worth it. I mean, especially with inflation.
Don't even do it. Yeah, don't even. But that's true recycling, right? Taking the bottle, cleaning the bottles, filling the bottles. That's real recycling.
Yeah, I mean that's more reusing than recycling. It's not where it's melting it down and all that. And I'm guessing even in those areas where you're taking the bottles and then they're recycling, they're not doing what you're talking about. Where you're taking it in, it's getting cleaned out, it's getting reused, it's getting refilled. Which that's the ideal. But it's a little bit more work, at least for the companies that are doing it, as opposed to a whole separate industry of taking and shipping it over to China or letting them do it or whatever. Right. And we don't actually know what's happening to it. It's probably ending up in the ocean or in a landfill or something anyway.
Exactly. So, but you're doing your part. So your products are, compostable or recyclable, and you're making them out of sustainable stuff.
We're doing the best we can with what we have, and it's a slog, and
Yeah.
just because the industry often just hasn't caught up, and it takes a lot of information and knowledge for people to start doing that as well.
Now, bamboo is sustainable, right? Because it biodegrades, right? Once you
bamboo,
it grows very fast. So
exactly. Bamboo is technically a grass, and so it grows by rhizomes under the ground, and it just grows like wildfire.
Oh, I've had neighbors have bamboo, and it goes into the other neighbor's yard. They're like, "What
exactly.
the hell?" If you don't cut it back and maintain it, it goes everywhere.
Yeah. So because it grows so quickly, it's a natural plant, and so it'll compost down, and so you're able to use that. It's a more sustainable material than plastic,
right. But you got to get them from China. Nobody's making bamboo toothbrushes.
Correct. As of right now, bamboo will grow in the States. It doesn't quite grow as well, different types as what grows over there, like China and Japan. We basically imported it from over there, and that's why we have it here, because it wasn't a native plant here in the U.S.
Right, but you can grow it almost anywhere.
Yeah, you can. Different types, and there's so many different varieties of that.
Yeah. I wonder on a broader scale if there's going to be things like that where somebody said, well, hey, wait a second, we can just open a small factory and make toothbrushes here. It might cost a little bit more, but with the tariffs, costs less,
Yeah, I think that's the goal with the tariffs, but that doesn't happen overnight. That's going to
close. And it's going to be a longer-term play. Industries, it's not going to happen. Companies are going to go out of business. The big companies may be able to sustain things.
Sure.
The little companies can't.
Yeah. Well, and I think the bigger issue that we're not looking at is, in order to create those factories and make those products here, labor is the most expensive part often.
Right.
And because, we have to make X amount per hour, do this or that. But we're not looking at what is the bigger picture, the total cost of everything. And so, in China and other places where the cost of labor is so inexpensive, and government is often subsidizing some of those
it's controlled because it's like,
then that makes a drastic difference as far as the total cost of goods.
Yeah, that's why we can't compete. So it's hard. So probably another topic for another show. So, all right, Seth. So we'll put links in the show notes, but it's Wellnesse with an E.
Yep. WELLNESSE.com is the website.
Okay. And people can check it out. What's a good way to learn from you too? Are you on LinkedIn or Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on all the social media channels. You can go to my personal website, SethSpears.com, and I've got links to all my social media there, and all the other projects that I've been involved with over the years as well.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, sharing our thoughts, having these good conversations, and stick around. We'll play the credits, and I'm gonna watch for your products. I gotta order some of your products when I get off.
Thanks, Mitch. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Seth. Hang in there.
In addition to being a podcast host, I'm also a small business attorney, mostly providing legal services in New York and New Jersey. At my firm, we help small businesses, entrepreneurs, family-owned businesses with things like contract drafting, corporate governance, purchases of businesses, sales of businesses, tax planning, real estate, and even estate planning. With over 3 decades of experience, we can handle most transactional issues. So if you're watching the show and you encounter some sort of legal issue, reach out to us. You can connect with us and visit our website, beinhakerlaw.com. There you can read our law blog, Insights legal blog, and you can set up a free consultation. If you want to connect, I'm on all the platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and the others. So as a lawyer, I'm here if you need me. As a podcaster, thanks for tuning into the show and for continuing to support us.